Okay.
Move a whole bunch of people.
So that's one thing, and then I feel 14 inch outdoor. And the garage is all shut.
I'd rather do
Sorry, there.
You were right.
No steps. Well, code is for it. Garage, outside.
Oh, really? Was he one of the guys who was so prior?
Worked with it, maybe Friday.
Or you get your.
All right, we have a break. Go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and call to order. It is 6 o'clock. You could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Are we recording? Just to be sure. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sorry. Could you call our roll? Suzanne Casey here. Dave Shaboo.
Here.
Mike Sweeney.
Here.
Brent Moore. Here. Al Wilson.
Here.
Thank you. The minutes were set out, I think, on the 13th, if I remember right. It was within a day or so of our last meeting. Does anybody have any corrections? First of all, thank you for that. Thanks for the quick minutes. It's easier to review them when you can still remember what happened. Does anybody have any corrections or updates? I'll take a motion. Second. Thank you. And if you could call the roll of the motion. Suzanne Case, aye. Dave Shaboo.
Aye.
Mike Sweeney.
Aye.
Brent Moore. Al Bush. All right. We move right down to reports. The mayor is not here. Do we have any report for this evening? If not, Mr. Shaboo.
Yes, council is currently working on ordinances 10.024.01 and 10.024.02 concerning the gutters. And we're trying to decide if we want to put some more specific language in there, what, etc. We're
So
all,
what's the gutters?
the gutters are right away.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, what can be allowed to be put in there and what can't.
Oh, open ditch and closed ditch culverts.
And, but some, there's been some rocks and things like
Yeah.
that. What specific can be allowed and what can't? And it's working out to be quite a discussion. We're not deciding what, you know. Also, we're still working on those planning companies in Vision and Hannah, trying to decide what kind of vision even we want. You know? And then therefore going to one of them and see if they can fit. That's going to take a lot of discussion too. And lastly, I see you have the PUD on here. Parent Council would like to have you take another look at it. We really do appreciate your input. And when we get to it, I have one section I'd like to ask specific about.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Shaboo? If not, old business, I think that's just continuing to ride. It's awaiting response to the moratorium. I don't think we have any actions. So we'll go right to new business, which is a review of the ordinance 2022-0-19. This is the PUD ordinance. Mr. Shaboo, you want to give us a little background on how this ended up back?
Well, I'm reading Rob's email. Apparently, some people have been upset because if we don't pass this, then the R card will go in. That's senior housing. Maybe this would be a better idea.
So bringing it back up just for reconsideration of options.
Correct. And specifically, I want to look at your opinions on, it's 125502 on the second page under B3. We limited this to Andrews Road north of Linden Street. And it was originally intended for the whole city. We really like your input on that. Secondly, should it be just business one or business one or business two? What is your opinion on that? Should it just be applied to those? So.
Right.
And anybody else have comments?
Any thoughts? And I think that you're right. We were looking at it specifically regarding lakefront properties. I think that was the original thought in the proposal. And I guess the other way to do it would be thinking about just kind of the overall purpose, which was to really look at providing specific options in business one and business two that didn't already exist. Specific opinion on that, yes. Anybody else have a thought? I mean, the reason that we, I think, looked at that particular area north of Linden on Andrews, again, was that lakeshore area. I can't imagine another, unless we extended it down lakeshore, right? But the only business sites are that's considered business.
Or down Andrews, there are
Sure.
special spots.
Or
Yeah.
down the Andrews.
We did it from Sharon.
I'm curious, with the resurrection of this, we've already spent time on recommendations to council. Wouldn't that put our consideration of vision in Indiana? I think that-
Good question.
I mean, what?
I'm not disagreeing.
Will the mayor just not end up doing this committee, which included the community in thought to pursue a vision for the city and planning? I thought that was the emphasis, to get a good PUD in place for the city.
I disagree.
Can you repeat, what did he say?
Well, given the stalemate, let's just call it, for lack of a better term, with the PUD as it was submitted, 05 version, even though this is the exact same as I understand it.
Yeah.
Then the administration moved to bringing in, or council, I don't know,
The council.
bringing in an advisory group
Sure,
is familiar with what we're looking at.
sure.
And I even attended a council meeting where there was a presentation, and then the mayor announced that I applied to have a committee made up partly of community interests to be part of this committee that would work with this consultant, as I understand it, in the development of an adequate PUD for the city.
I thought that was a development of, to look at whether a master plan was.
Yes,
But I think.
So
they're gonna-
that's not really the PD, that would be a broader.
well, but the PUD, given the location, would be integral to the master plan.
Okay, so I think your question is more about whether you,
Are we putting the cart before the horse?
well, whether you would want to agree with referring this back to council as is, so. I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's the broader question. Any thought on the, I mean, my sense is we could go ahead, make a recommendation, pass this forward as is, and then if we did have another, ask for consideration of the council to do that. At this point, I don't want to reopen going through what was hours of conversation.
I
Right
don't think we
now,
want to
I
go
think
through
it
the
could be, well, we're not going to go through this. I think it could be added as a consideration for council. But for me, I guess, I'd like to see whether we have the don't have a motion on the table right now, so let me go ahead and ask for that, and then we'll consider discussion. I have a motion on the table to recommend that council reconsider ordinance 2022-0-1. They considered it and tabled it. They're coming back to us to say.
So motion to support this one?
Yes.
Then I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second? All right, now let's go ahead and have a full discussion. I'm hearing your point, so I want to put Al's kind of perspective into that, which is
Well,
are requesting that they go ahead and reconsider moving forward on the PUD. You know, could there be an impact then to the overall approach of master plan? The community.
Well, I really, you correct me if I'm wrong. It was at this last meeting that we considered the development of the project.
We did.
Senior house and 71 units. And we had indicated that that's something we were willing to work with the developer on. Much like the 70 apartments that were originally submitted by the same developer.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, what became clear is we're willing to work within the boundaries of the current law. That's the option that was available to the developer.
Yes, but the comments that you had just referred to about a couple of people indicating that, what did you say that?
We had community members, some of whom are here tonight,
Yeah.
that
Right.
said, you know, owner occupied, if we wanted to look at owner occupied, that was kind of the purpose of the community, and I think the council was just acknowledging that.
You think it should be just contained within that one property? You
I think
We
that's a
keep that in
second
it.
conversation,
That's the second.
that
conversation.
that would be up to the council. So here's my perspective on this. I'm not sure, as somebody who has done master plans before, I don't know that we need a different master plan. I don't know that the city would come up with something different. I think that's a great conversation to decide whether that's worth the investment of. It's likely to be several $100,000 to, you know, for the council. I think that's a great conversation to be had. I believe, and I still believe, this offers flexibility. It offers the ability to have investment in what is a blighted area of our city. And it offers the opportunity for longer term investment that I think many of us were interested in, which is through owner occupied housing as opposed to apartments. We don't have that relief in the current law. So for me, I would like to see the city have this option available. I think the thing we don't know is whether we'll have developer or wanting to go back to this. We know we have a developer interested in now doing apartments. Whether that same developer will have an interest in changing their plans yet again, that remains to be seen. So I believe that we should have the flexibility to take a look at this. I think that that whole corner in many ways is blighted, even though we've got businesses and buildings that seem to be close to falling apart. I think we have to take a look at the piece. I personally would like for the council to. Anybody else? I certainly understand that question. I don't know if I think that the council should consider
There is, you know, in meeting with the city's consultant, this board had asked if there are any examples. I think it was the two mentioned of similar type projects. She had indicated that there wasn't. Now, Mentors is a much more detailed PUD. But there is a site out there that I don't even think is to the density that has been proposed, and that is right across from Howard's Painesville Township. And it's something that, you know, I don't would be benefit to the city. I would consider a motion for council to consider our original to reconsider has been indicated. We really reviewed each ordinance. Essentially, every change this board made was reviewed. So, you know, there is a motion on right now, and it has been seconded. So that's why I say, is this in favor of what's in front of us, which is the same as 05 that we marked up?
I was told this was the same as
Yeah,
05,
that's what I was told.
which was our markup.
So we could take a vote on that as a
So
matter of
this was
procedure.
our markup that we went through one by one.
This is.
This was it. My understanding was that this had not changed. So I'm looking towards you, correct?
Oh.
That was what Rob.
Is this the markup with
I
the,
believe council that
I think that there were one or two changes within it, but it was, the majority of them were adopted.
It was the one that was proposed the last council meeting.
Yeah, it was the
So that's
last
all I
one
can
that
tell you. I know it's the last one that was given to us, where it was denied.
And then council only changed the location.
That night, the
Right.
location was changed.
Yes, the setback was changed.
Not that night.
Not that.
That
Yeah,
night,
see, I'm
only
confused.
location.
Because we had scratched one family detached. And I see that here.
Yeah, I believe council added that in there.
Added back in.
Yes.
And then our building fronts facing street right of ways, is that still in there or is that straight?
No, but it's-
It's back of it.
Don't know. I
Okay, what was the second one?
want to say.
I mean, we can re-propose it.
It would
Minimum
basically,
setbacks.
that the fronts of buildings shall face the roadway. In this case, both Andrews and Lake Shore.
Yes.
What was proposed was the back. Now, the other thing too is what was that, council did add the average of the setbacks.
Correct.
Yeah.
To mimic current code.
Which gets me to your response on what you had brought up. And this is just me. I wouldn't want to see this anywhere else in the city. Quite honestly. So it would be my vote to just have it on the corner, if that were.
Have this as proposed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see backs of buildings 20 feet off the road anymore. But that's.
Where was that?
That was, it was in the beginning.
there is another area to be concerned about. As far as this is concerned. Now,
Yeah,
that's that St. Andrews.
This is basically covers 2 acres or more. Or minimum 2 acres.
oh, well, that's a good concern. Would that affect?
I
And
think
affect the
that's
church,
the
yes.
question of the north of Sharon.
That's why I
Drop it down to go.
Well, The building fronts wouldn't apply there to Andrews. Because,
They don't have street frontage.
right,
Well, wait, okay.
But we're not
20%
looking
or
at
more,
building
this is-
fronts.
Of the aggregate street frontage is occupied by the buildings. Well, this is just the setback.
well, I had put in here, building structures, building fronts. Just to kind of drive the point home of the preference for the front of whatever to be facing the street. And then it was changed because the developer's plan has all the backs of the units to both Andrews Village. And I don't think people understand that. 20 feet off the sidewalk. If you want to go look at across the street from El Regals. Township.
Oh, the one little right on,
Yeah,
right,
Cleveland
immediately
Church is
across the street.
it was done, real bad economy. It is, so anyway, the motion seconded. For
So we-
this,
For this, so we do have this to consider, if we want to make any amendments to that motion.
I would ask that the building fronts be put back in. And it's a very general term, and it's in an introductory spot of this. We can even address a percentage of fronts. Metro does that quite often. It's very detailed and on their facades. Say, okay, a certain percentage has to do this.
The building fronts wouldn't pertain to St. Andrews. But if we limited this to just that one property, then.
Well, then you have to look at where you have street frontage that you would want to have X percent.
well, I was looking from
And that's
itself. The only other option would be the
Well, because
archive.
Andrews doesn't have street frontage, it wouldn't have street frontage, so that wouldn't apply. That's why I think.
But I don't think
Street
our
frontage
type-
with,
Those senior housing, we wouldn't want back there.
well, that doesn't apply to that.
No, that's already permitted.
I don't,
And by the way, they cannot build 118 units. The comment was made, but
Okay, that's.
Wait, so can I just clarify for the minutes, is that 125507B that you guys want to add the front to?
125507B, I think that's where it would go, yeah. That's what
building front,
would be to consider looking at either a percentage of frontage to the street.
So would the driveways be on Andrews and Lake Shore?
no. No. Those would be back, like Meadowlawn. You've been in Meadowlawn? Well, the backs of the units have the garages. But in this scenario, the garage is right next to the front door. Like, development. Like China.
Mr. Summers' current design.
Yeah.
It shows the fronts towards the street. You remember?
Not the town. Well, I remember the town.
Not the town, but
Yeah, I don't think, let's just, if what we
Yeah.
want is to put it as frontage, let's not guess what a developer.
Well-
Who may or may not even consider this at this point.
Well, that's true.
They-
That is,
So if what we're saying is, 20% or more of the aggregate street frontage between two successive lots is occupied by building, the average setbacks, I mean, I feel like there becomes, the average setbacks of the existing buildings. But it's a similar, we could also say we're 20% or more of the aggregate street frontage is occupied by buildings. We would have the preference is that the buildings would front on those streets. Sorry, that was really convoluted. I hope the minutes make sense on that. But what I'm saying is they put in that idea of the percentage, which kind of makes sense. So that if you don't have more than 20, if you have less than 20% street frontage,
you don't average, am I right?
you don't
You
have
don't
to
have
have, no, you don't have, I skipped over the rest of it. I was just trying to use the first part of that phrase to say, how would we then say the preferences that you have at least
Well, you could start out
50%
with
frontage?
a preference. Building fronts, and then go.
Okay.
With a preference.
So where there is at least 20, see if I can say this, where there is 20% or more street frontage for a property,
take out aggregate.
we would prefer we would prefer at least X percent building
And
frontage.
a preference. Building fronts.
To be street facing.
Yes.
And I'm not taking notes. Well, we try it again. So I would leave this as this, we're 20% or more.
With a preference to building fronts facing a street right of way. Building structures and parking areas shall be set back a minimum of. So it's really just introducing the
Okay.
preference.
Can you tell me which section that is?
We're back to,
And
It's still-
125507B.
Oh, still?
still, we haven't moved from there. Ignore everything I said up to this point, and we're
Okay.
rewriting it. So you see, the section title is minimum setback from street right of way.
Yes.
We're adding a phrase,
With a preference towards building fronts facing a street right of way, ROW, comma,
building structures.
building structures and parking areas shall be set back. So it's not written in stone.
But we are, the good news is we are at least to any developer expressing that preference, so when they would come here, they wouldn't be surprised.
Yes.
Okay. Then we can make that. Second, the second question, and then I'll take these considerations I think one by one. So that'll be amendment A. Was
Building from
the, do we want to have an amendment that the PUD zoning can only be applied north of Sharon versus north of Linden? Go ahead and take a minute to talk about that. More, we're
I think so, due to the fact we have St. Andrews. And how many senior apartment buildings do we want to build in the city? So right now, our target is to be built there. At least this would give us something extra to put there besides senior homes.
questions, okay? So for the minutes, that would be 1255.02 B3 amended to north of Sharon, right, Linden Street, Sharon Drive.
By the way, we're currently discussing a moratorium on the part.
Please.
Otherwise, we're gonna. And I think the last modification, Mr. Sweeney, you brought up, do we want to go again and request the removal of one family detached? So that would be 125505 C. Table. Talk about one, which is one single family detached, an option. Currently, it has it as maximum 5 units per acre, one structure. So that would be a single
So
structure.
that would be very
five,
less dense if we let that in there. So it's actually a good thing. It's
significantly less dense, right?
Because I think I made a motion to remove it after
Maximum number.
bringing it over it again. I think it's not a bad
How many
idea.
acres would this be? 4.
Uh,
So it'd be like
No,
4
it's less.
houses,
Just
Right,
or whatever, 1 per acre.
right. So. I don't think it
What's
hurts to
that?
have it in there.
What's
If we did, if the one, somebody wanted to do single family, either there or even behind the other house, we'd be doing 1 per. That's significant. Or 5 per.
Yeah, the church is roughly 4 acres, so that would be 4 houses.
Oh, well, there is a dead end to that person.
Right.
That I had brought up initially, so that would allow that.
Right, which is extend that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I think we have 2. I asked for just, I guess, 1 amendment to the motion on the table. I think I can do that. Let's get one back. The amendment would be both for the minutes, 1255.02. E3 changes to north of Sharon. And the addition of the really well articulated, which I can write down, phrase to 125507 E, expressing the preference of frontage of buildings to street front. I'll make a motion to amend. Thank you. In a second.
second.
Thank you. All right. Call the roll, please.
Suzanne Payson,
Aye.
Dave Shaboo,
Aye.
Mike Sweeney,
Aye.
Brett Moore, Al Busher,
Thank you. And if we have the council to do their job. The only announcement we have is next meeting is November 7th. There are no other announcements. I will take a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Second.
Second.
This by acclamation, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. Staying. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Get those.
Did you get it
on
written
wrong
what
line.
she said?